Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Sasha. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. I hope all is well. I wanted to just kind of piggyback from the topic from yesterday first before we get into the segment. Yesterday, I had a dual download and I went over how fast food is now comprised of nanotechnology and it will be used to tether us to our electronic devices, our other electronic devices, how it will be breaking down the composition of our genetic sequence, and a whole bunch of other things, right? But I just wanted to say that that is a topic that is related to drugs, okay, to addiction. The same thing happens with drugs. So when you are consuming any kind of drugs, you have to assume that it is prying apart your genetic code, right? Sometimes it's ironic. Some drugs actually do the opposite. They can build up your genetic composition. But in most cases, especially in excessive use, your genes are being pulled apart, dissected, and especially if you are not tapping in with your ancestors, if you're not eating right, if you're not exercising, if you're not getting rest, if you are consuming anything in excess amount, whether it is food, stress, whatever it may be, it can deteriorate your genes, okay? Now, I wanted to make sure when I did this segment that I wasn't projecting anything that I had going on. The creator actually told me to use myself as an example to get into this topic, right? Now, we've had several conversations about mediumship, seership, having spiritual gifts and abilities, and using our own lives in physical vessels and spiritual expertise and abilities to stand in the gap, right? This is especially for prophets, people who are seers, people who have the gift of tongue, right? So if the creator has given you the ability to see things before it comes, that is a prophet. And then you have the gift of tongue where you can not only speak in a dialect of the ancestors and of the ethers, but you have the ability to speak things in and out of existence. You have the ability to speak life into things, or you can break chains and curses with your mouth, right? And if you are a seer, right, if you have the ability to go into the spirit and pray for certain things to come to pass or not come to pass, however it goes, those are all different gifts, okay? Those are not the same gifts. I just want to be clear on that. Those are three different gifts. So if you can do all three, you have those are separate gifts, okay? Now, when you are calling off a spirit or you are standing in the gap for anyone or anything,
we pull people off the street
and you have to use your own self, meaning if you are using your energy, right? Like if you are making yourself the sacrifice, then you have to understand that you are actually taking on the entity and the energy that you are trying to cast out. I believe it was Jesus who was possessed, and then those same entities that took over Jesus went into a herd of swine, right? That's a really popular story out of the Bible. I'm just using that as an example. This happens, okay? Just because you are spiritually gifted does not mean that you cannot become possessed. You are actually a number one target for possession, okay? Entities, demonic entities, different spirits, different energies will haunt you in the spirit to not only stop you from doing what you're doing, but to stop you from assisting other people, to stop you from praying against darkness and these different principalities that go against the creator. So let's just say, and I'm going to use my example because the creator had given me the permission to use myself as an example. Okay. So let's just say I have been calling off the spirit of homosexuality off of my bloodline, right? And I can see that it has run rampant. It has prevented certain people from having children, because obviously we need the opposite sex to procreate. So sometimes this particular vessel was supposed to have a child, but they didn't, because the spirit of, I'm not going to say homosexuality, I'm just going to say same sex, right? The same sex spirit has taken over the vessel of someone. So I did a segment about last summer about how I was being haunted by this same sex spirit, right? This spirit has been able to cultivate enough energy from your bloodline alone. Not to mention how it's run rampant through other people, right? Not to mention how it's gained so much strength by convincing people that they are women when they're men, or that they're men when they're born women, right? This is the same spirit, same entity that causes confusion, that does not allow our reproductive systems to flourish and produce the children that we otherwise would be having if this spirit wasn't prevalent, right? Or on us, if we haven't accepted the spirit. Now, granted, it is possible for trauma to happen. A lot of people, they decide to make certain decisions as far as their sexuality is concerned because of some sort of trauma. Some people say that nothing happened, that they just felt like they were born into the wrong body. And I don't negate that, right? Because science has shown us that hormones and life circumstances can really make some alterations, right? It can alter a lot of different things. So it's important for you to realize that all of these things are possible. We can't just rule out things that may be contributing to the facts, right? Contributing factors. We can't do that. So we have to make sure that we are on top of everything that is connecting to these roads, right? So when you go through these channels of, let's just say, under possession, right? Let's just call it that. I don't really want to say that, but let's just say that. Let's say you're like praying to make sure that the spirit doesn't go to anyone else in your bloodline or anyone else that is connected to you. Let's just say once you start praying against the spirit, if you yourself have had any experience with any entity or energy that you are calling off of your bloodline, or off of anyone that is connected to you, or even just off of someone who the Creator has shown you something about and He allowed you to pray over them, right? You invite that energy into your aura field. And I'm going to tell you why. Because once you start praying against it, it doesn't have to go to where you're trying to say it shouldn't go, right? It's like, okay, your prayer is working. You prayed for this spirit not to attack anyone else in your bloodline. But since you are acknowledging me, addressing me, and trying to rid me, I'll harass you. And this is any spirit. Same-sex spirit, spirit of addiction, spirit of fear, spirit of lust, spirit of greed, spirit of hate, spirit of envy. It doesn't matter what the spirit is, okay? Once you call attention to an entity, you are now, and especially if you've had to wrestle with the spirit yourself, you are now the prime target. You're going to be the one to have to wrestle with that spirit. You're now responsible for casting the spirit out completely. And we've talked about, there being a difference between, shooing spirits away. Like some people are like, oh yeah, don't return. You have to leave. No, you have to banish the spirit. And this doesn't have anything to do with Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism. This is just frequency. If you are trying to handle an energy that needs to leave because it is causing confusion, because it is delaying people in the spirit, because it is preventing people from going where the Creator wants them to go, if it is a distraction of any sort, and you are willing to wrestle with it, you become responsible. Of course, the Creator, if He has given you the gifts to, and the authority, because there's one thing to have the gifts to see and know, right, that this spirit exists, but then there's another thing to have the authority to wrestle with it and cast it out. Those are two different things, okay? So I think we need to first make sure that we understand the difference between the different levels of gifts and abilities that are associated with spirituality. It doesn't really have anything to do with religion per se. But if you have mastered the art of dealing with the spirit, and when I say dealing with it, I mean wrestling with it, casting it out yourself, and then seeing that the people connected to you are at risk of being possessed by that same spirit, you are the one still responsible for dealing with it, even if it's no longer badgering you. Especially if you have been given the gift of authority to cast it out. Sometimes the Creator will tell you to leave it, right? So this is all contingent upon what the Creator wants. But if the Creator has given you the ability to see, He's giving you the strength to fight it, and He has given you the permission to walk through this journey of battling these spirits, then that is your job. You are responsible, okay? A lot of us, we have had so many spirits. Like, I think alcoholism, anger, gluttony are like the main three spirits that are probably a little bit harder, only because of how they connect and manifest to the physical body, and because of how these things are socially accepted. So what do I mean? The things that your body undergoes when you are an alcoholic, when you are a glutton eater, or when you are a greedy person, like financially, right? The things that you experience in your physical is socially accepted. Like, it's okay to drink, right? Maybe not to be an alcoholic, but the threshold that you've walked through is acceptable, right? You have to start drinking moderately in order to become an alcoholic. You have to start eating moderately in order to have this spirit of gluttony placed on you. You have to walk through the threshold of making a little bit of money or having access to it to be greedy for it. So socially, these things are accepted. So battling spirits like that are socially accepted are a little bit harder to combat, simply because they are socially accepted. So whether the people in your family accept them because they're socially accepted, or the environment that you're in socially accept these spirits, right? If they're not looking at this thing from a spiritual lens, it's just regular everyday stuff that's a part of life, right? So you have to understand that no one is exempt. These spirits are looking for a home, and if you are casting it out of one person or one item or anything, your pet, whatever, it has to find a home. So you have to find a way to find your strength to keep yourself from becoming the next possessed vessel of this spirit. And it's fine, because, right, if you have the ability and the authority to wrestle with it, then you can become possessed with it. But it's all a matter of how you engage this spirit. Okay? So remember, if these things are socially accepted, it'll be harder. So you, of course, will have to look at the environment that you're in and the culture that you are in that will accept certain behaviors, and it's not even considered a spirit, it's just considered a thing that is a part of life. Okay, you have to be able to differentiate. between those things. All right, but I'm gonna end it here. I do love y'all. I hope all is well. I hope y'all enjoyed y'all weekend. I hope y'all are drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, sipping on your own tea, because it is most definitely free, and I hope y'all gonna get some money this week. All right, love y'all. Peace.